Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I'm going to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and help you stay social. Because after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And so welcome, Seth. And
Hi.
tell me a little bit about like what you do and who you serve.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lorraine, for having me. I'm a digital marketer. I help businesses get found online. So through WordPress websites, through SEO, search marketing, so the paid ad side of things. I help out with digital strategy. I usually tell them to go hire a kid right out of college, give them their experience, and have them implement the strategy. I coach them along the way. The email marketing, I do some podcast production. This is why not. I've been podcasting since 2010. So I'm one of the, I guess, the second generation of OGs in the podcasting space. Not the first one, not Evo Terra or Adam Curry or those guys that have been like, before, they literally had to knock two rocks together to make a podcast. Sorry, guys. Sorry, but it's true. But so I've been doing it for a while. My current show is Entrepreneur's Enigma. So it's all about the enigma, the puzzle of entrepreneurship and how it's interesting, to say the least. And I've been doing digital marketing on my own for 15 years.
Wow. So tell me a little bit. I see that you were a journalist at one time. How did that help you with doing this digital marketing?
It helps you ask questions. It helps you not just talk through the interviews with the people. It helps you kind of think critically. And it helps you realize you don't want to do journalism anymore. Because journalism was tough. Low pay, long hours, lots of fun, something to do when you're in your early 20s, not something to do when you're 42. And so, unless you make it, your New York Times, the Washington Post, we'll say Fox, be kind of both sides of things. But like you make these big time, then all right, great, 42, you're young for journalism. But switching to digital marketing was smart because I could actually use my knowledge, especially with the podcast. I'm still doing journalism in some way. It's just different. Asking questions, thinking critically, asking the right questions the first time, not stumbling over yourself. So it was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me at least one, because I'm really into journalism and I have a couple favorite journalists, but can you tell me one really cool, exciting story?
I once sat in the center of Route 15 in South Central Pennsylvania while they extracted a dump truck from a ravine that he careened off. It's kind of morbid, but he careened off I don't know, I'm going with this story, not the stiletto heels. Oh, I'll tell you both. How about that? I'll give you two stories. Anyhow, they had to extract the dump truck, and so I sat there for 3.5 hours where they extracted the dump truck from the ravine, sitting in the center of a superhighway. That was kind of fun. It's sad because the guy didn't make it, but it was a story. It got the story and all that stuff. The more fun one that was kind of bizarre was, so in Gettysburg, there's a circle in the center, like a roundabout, and there's a statue of Abraham Lincoln talking to a kid. It's a J. Stewart Johnson statue. So they're all over the place. I think there's some in Connecticut, famous artist from New Jersey. And so there's a suitcase left next to it. So bomb squad comes out, fire department comes out. I'm standing behind the fire engine, way too close to this thing if this thing's actually a bomb. It isn't. It's a bunch of stiletto heels in a suitcase. And someone just saw not one or two pairs of stiletto heels, a suitcase full. So apparently it was a prank, but it wasn't a bomb. So they had that little robot, Johnny Five, a little robot. That's a callback to the 90s, the Johnny Five short circuit movie. But like a Johnny Five little robot coming out, goes up, pokes at it. We're all kind of like, every time he pokes at it, and he takes this X-ray of it. I'm calling it he. It takes an X-ray of it, and it's stiletto heels. And everyone's like, oh. And we'll have a good laugh about it. That was a fun story to write up, too. Bomb scare turns out to be a bunch of stiletto heels. Front page story, though.
Vandalism for that, though? That was the prank? Was it like...
No one knows. No one knows who left it or anything like that. I mean, at least not as far as when I was there. No one knew what the heck it was. Someone just dropped off a bunch of stiletto. Maybe it wasn't a prank. They stopped, and this was before Uber, so it was, I literally don't know, but it was a pretty fun story.
That's funny.
Oh, I have a binder. I mean, no one can see this because audio, but a binder probably, I'd say 5 inches thick, full of clippings of all different kinds of things.
That's cool. What a really neat thing. I remember, I don't know, well, a couple of people that come to mind, but when I was in high school, I took a journalism class, and my partner and I, we used to pretend we were Woodward and Bernstein.
Yeah, that's what got me stuck on
really
journalism.
We kind of got, excited about doing stories, and actually wrote for the school newspaper and did some fun stuff like that.
I started the school paper at my school. I went to University of Delaware in 2000 and wanted to do marketing. Ended up getting stuck on journalism because now President Biden talked to me on the phone as a senator. And I was hooked between Woodward and Bernstein, the whole lure and the romanticness, which is, journalism's not that romantic. Let's be perfectly honest. It's very dull most of the time. Like covering accent scenes. Oh, township meetings. Oh, they're awful. Trying to come up with a 400-word article about tax liens on a property that no one gives a crap about. I could go on forever with that, but talking to Biden on the phone was a thrill. He was like, oh, because he was a University of Delaware alumni. So he's like, oh, the review. He picks up the phone and says, hey, who's this? And a very jovial guy. He's about as friendly as you would expect him to be. Like, he's a very friendly dude. For whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, he's a very friendly dude. So, but that journalism was so much fun. And everyone knew that I was going to be a journalist from high school. I started a school paper. Everyone's like, he's going to be a journalist. I'm like, I didn't know that.
I think it's very cool. I really love your background, but let's go back to digital marketing.
Yes.
Because the landscape, I believe has changed. So what have you seen changed mostly with digital landscaping?
It's changed so much in the past week, literally. I'm kind of joking, kind of not. You look at the trend. I was on another podcast the other day, we were talking about this. And the trend was like in 2012, 2013, 2014, up to 2015, there's Panda and Penguin. Stuff changed. You couldn't spam this index quite as much. But then there's the whole exact match domain name sphere where you have like woodworking Bucks County or woodworking Doylestown or whatever. And that would be exact match that people search for, and that your domain would count so much. But then things were kind of quiet. I mean, there would be changes here and there going on. The past month, Google's constantly messing with Bard, Microsoft with its ChatGPT, and ChatGPT with ChatGPT, OpenAI with ChatGPT. There's always something changing. It's hard to keep up with now. The landscape it's kind of insane. I mean, I think everyone missed the mark. Everyone thought NFTs, Web3 was going to be the big thing. Then the metaverse, those died pretty quick. AI, I think, is here to stay.
Yeah, and as a writer too, you must be very intrigued with playing with it, and
it's fun. It's good for a first draft.
Yeah,
it's a little flowery. You'll see when I send you over my bio. I give you the AI version, and they give you my version. The AI version calls me an ink stained journalist news hound, and I'm like, whoa, that's a little flowery for me.
That's kind of cool, though.
I put it in there because I'm like, it's fun and cute, but I'm like, it's a little over the top.
Yeah, mine was way over the top. It said like I was a #1 New York New York Times bestseller, and I'm not.
Going on Amazon?
Okay. It was I only made it to #3 on Amazon, so it was
That's not bad. Don't knock that.
No, it's there's a long story with that. I'll tell you it another day. But
yeah.
Anyways, it's like, so here we are, digital marketing, ChatGPT, because I'm a social media gal. So tell me what you think about social media.
Social media is dangerous, intriguing, fun, and loathsome, all wrapped up into one. Because if you spend too much time on it, your brain's going to turn to mush. Plain and simple. It's going to turn to mush. You're going to have no brain cells, and the medulla is going to melt. But it's a necessary evil because everyone's on there. And everyone is, looking for businesses, looking for people to converse with. I think Facebook is where you need to be if you're a B2C consumer, that and Instagram. I think if you're a B2B, you have to be on LinkedIn. And I think X, Twitter, whatever the hell. I mean, Elon, I know this comes up everywhere. I'm sick of talking about the damn dude. But anyhow, he killed a brand that was synonymous with, that was a good brand over ego. But Twitter is dying on the vine. So I will not call it X, because it's not X, it's Twitter. It's dying. It's falling off out of its nest. Bad analogy. And I think Mastodon is coming about, the Fediverse. Distributed social media is going to be the new thing. We're going back to the 1990s with, email, I email Lorraine at Gmail. I could be on a different email server. It's really that simple. If you're on one Mastodon server, you message someone on another server, it's at that server. It's their name at that server. It's not that complicated. Everyone's like, oh my God. I don't think email would have survived nowadays with the centralized internet if it didn't happen beforehand.
I have two things that I have to state because you mentioned it. First of all, Elon Musk and X. As a person who knows a lot about business and you know that branding is very important, you can't trademark the letter X because it's the letter of the alphabet. So somebody I
Unicode too.
If you think you're a good business person and smart and savvy, a good business person probably would not have used X as their name. It would be like
it also got banned in Malaysia because it's apparently considered adult. So
really?
You can't. And in Japan, it's already used by someone else. He didn't brand it correctly. He called it X. He changed the logo, but not all over the website for the longest time. I'm like, oh my God! If you're gonna brand it. Just get it done with. It's still Twitter.com goes to Twitter.com. X.com goes to Twitter.com still. And it's like,
and the other thing he did like in my email when I get notifications, it's X. Then in parentheses, it says formerly Twitter. And I'm like thinking,
what is this, Prince? Formerly known as Prince.
This is notification. I have no idea. It's hysterical. But then the other thing is I just wanted to note that that's Mastodon. Interesting. So I have a friend who used to do something called, or still does. She does this, and it's countrywide. So, but she does Gen Chat. And
Never heard of it.
Gen Chat is, oh gosh, I'm going blank. It's it's genealogy on steroids. They talk about subjects, and that's that's a big group of people.
It's
we're all
group.
Using Twitter.
It's all of Utah.
No, it's not actually. Believe it or not, the big one. They have a big conference, I guess, in New York. Anyways,
really? Wow.
Yeah, this is huger. It's not as huge as like Comic-Con or something like that.
No, of course not. But there's its own subculture. It's genealogy.
Absolutely. But anyways, long story short, she always did it on Twitter. And then she heard that Twitter was having glitches. And so what she did is she moved over to Mastodon, but had them on both.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was more people on Twitter or X, I should say.
Yeah. Now you can call it Twitter.
It was half and half. Then it was half and half. Now she has more people coming through on Mastodon. So the bottom line
people are figuring it out.
Well, first of all, they approached me, X or whatever they are, and they want me to pay for if I have a business, they want me to pay for something. I'm like, I'm not paying for anything.
No, and not for now when you mangle the brand. Like, no.
Anyway, it's very disappointing.
It is.
But I wanted to touch on that. And
I've been on there. I had been on there since 2007. It's sad. You shed a tear for Twitter.
So I'm going to switch gears now here a little bit. So let's talk a little bit. We're going to get real here because a lot of my listeners are B2B. And so what do you love most about being an entrepreneur and being in business for yourself?
That answer to myself and my wife. But generally, I can do what I want to do when I want to do it. I'm ADD, so it helps that, I can do things when I can do them. So I'm better in the mornings than in the afternoons. I'm better at talking in the afternoons than I am in the mornings. Like the mornings, I'm all gobbledygook in the mouth because it just doesn't work. But my brain is on for working on stuff. And then I can be on podcasts now because it's right brain. It's just chatting. I don't have to think as much. It's just, but it's entrepreneurship gives you it's not a cakewalk. And that's why I go into my podcast. And then it's like, it's not a cakewalk. Everyone who you think is a successful entrepreneur is 15 years in the making. They're a 15-year overnight success. I think I've said that phrase in 5 podcasts of my own. Everyone's like, oh, he did this overnight. No, he's been doing it for 15 years, eating ramen. Like, let's be honest with that. I mean, and I mean, if you want to have a life outside your job for the first 5 years of entrepreneurship, even more, don't be an entrepreneur. Like, there's no job security in entrepreneurship. There's no job security now in being a cog in the wheel. But there is something about being a cog in the wheel is that you can turn off at the end of the night. Entrepreneurship, you're always going, especially when you're ADD. It doesn't stop.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, everybody talks about the glamour of being in business for himself. Oh, it's my friends always say, "Oh, you're so cool. That's awesome. That's good for you." But we both know that, as you were saying,
it's not glamorous.
It's hard. Okay. So what would you say is your biggest challenge as being a business owner in today's world?
It's finding the business. It really is. It's finding the people who want to use you versus the guy next to you or the gal next to you. It's differentiating yourself from your competition. It's realizing that there is really no competition. Sometimes you can use the other company to help you offset some of the load of your business. So when I first started, I have two versions of Goldstein Media, split by a brief stint in corporate America for about a year and a half. And that's when I learned that I do not like corporate America. The first version of Goldstein Media, I was all like, everyone's competition. All that stuff. After that, after working in corporate America, I came back out and I'm like, that's the wrong idea. We can all scratch each other's backs. If a project isn't too big for me, I can bring another company on to help me out. And that person to bring me in on that, or they can bring me in on stuff. And it's a whole lot more kumbaya. And it's a way to think about it. Otherwise, you're going to stress yourself out.
Yeah, I found that for me, I'm a digital marketing agency too.
Yeah.
But I don't view anybody as competition. I think it's called right fit. Some people are not a right fit for me. Some people are. And I want I want the right fit. And I've told people like that have wanted that we're going to hire me right on the spot. I think this agency would be better for you. It would serve you.
Being honesty, and it pays back in dividends.
It does, because they've actually referred me out to other people.
Amazing. Like, you think, I'm going to refer away this business, I'm not going to have this business, but then you're giving it to somebody who is better fit for them. Even that business that got the business, there's a lot of businesses. That business that got the business from you is going to refer you as well when the other person's not the right fit for them.
Right.
So it's very kumbaya.
Yeah. Except without the campfire, maybe. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and dancing around the campfire, exactly.
So here's my, this is a question I always ask everybody, but I think it's important to our listeners, is what is one universal piece of advice that would go across everything, like new business, people who are established, people who are thinking of starting their own business? Mm-hmm. What is one universal piece of advice that you could give that will help them move forward?
Just keep going. Like, literally just keep going. Like, you're not going to know if your journey, even in business, even in a company or on your own, is going to work for at least a year. Like, the first 3 months feel like a freaking eternity. But, and they in all aspects, they're not. There's 3 months. What is that? A few, 12 weeks, not even that much, maybe a little bit more. I'm not terrible at math. But when you think about it, a year, most companies don't last past 3 years when they start out. You pass 3 years, great. You're working to the next, let's get to 5. When you're at 5, usually you're in it for the long haul, or you're at least in it for another 5. And like I've been doing Goldstein Media for 15, for better for worse, with a brief I always say with a brief stint in corporate America when my son was born, because you know what, I needed something more steady at that point. It wasn't more steady, and so I learned that corporate America is not always steady. It's actually more up and down, more visceral. It's like, and it's also very political. Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, it's right now when we're recording this, and this is coming out later, it's 2:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. And I'm talking to Lorraine, having a great time. And I can say, I'm going to have this podcast now. I'm going to talk to this person now. Not, hey, boss, can I have to do this podcast? Not have to ask for permission. I can just say, I'm doing this. And I love that.
Yeah. And it's nice to be able to control your own calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for better, for worse.
Yeah. So if somebody resonated with you today and wants to work with you or needs to find out more information of what you do, or, who you serve, and like if you're a right fit, how would they get in touch with you?
Pretty much look for Seth Goldstein anywhere on the web. Sometimes you have to put an M in there. Seth M. Goldstein, you'll definitely find me because there's a Seth Goldstein who's an angel investor in California. They pretty much co-opted the Seth Goldstein space. He used to be Seth on Twitter, and I used to get his tweets because I'm Seth Goldstein on Twitter. And I say, hey, you mean Seth? And so we became friendly that way. And then we both fought for the handle on Facebook and all that. But I digress. You can also go to goldsteinmedia.com. You can go to Entrepreneurs Enigma, listen to my podcast. We'll have to get Lorraine on my show. That'll be fun.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just thank you, and you've been a great guest. A lot of knowledge, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed interviewing you, and
thank you.
I probably am going to be drinking more caffeine just so I can stay as energized.
I'm glad I got the caffeine in at the very beginning. Yeah.
But anyways, well, to next week, everyone. I will see you soon. This is Lorraine from Biz Gone Social. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.